Also known as the GOAT, the GTO is considered to be the first muscle car ever. So let's take a look at the rarest models Pontiac ever produced. By 1973, the horsepower craze of the late 60s and early 70s was already over. New EPA emissions and fuel economy metrics have taken over, choking out the American penchant for horsepower. The 1973 GTO, in particular, suffered from poor sales due to both the lack of horsepower and a new redesign, which some felt made it look too much like Grandma's car. However, as underwhelming as it may have been, it still deserves a spot on our rarest GTO list. Of the 4,806 produced that year, only 25 units boasted a 455 cubic inch V8, 4-barrel carburetor, automatic transmission, and sport coupe body. The 1968 GTO adopted the iconic hidden headlights look that became a popular design throughout all American manufacturers in the late 60s. Pontiac also saw strong sales of its GTO in 1968, with total sales reaching nearly 87,000 units. However, only about 9,000 of those donned the convertible body style. Digging deeper, we found that only 22 GTOs came equipped with that convertible look, a Ram Air 2 intake, and an automatic transmission, making it the rarest of the 1968 GTOs. The year 1971 was pivotal in American muscle car history, as it marked the first indication the horsepower race was ending. The federal government passed the first of a series of environmental reforms, mainly targeting automotive manufacturers in an effort to quell rising pollution concerns. The quick solution for automakers was to lower compression ratios, which directly affects power ratings. However, Pontiac wasn't going down without a fight, so they developed a high-output version of their 455 cubic inch V8. The HO 455 produced 335 horsepower, 10 horsepower more than the standard 455 in 1971, thanks to upgraded heads and a revised camshaft. Despite the exciting engine, only 21 convertibles were sold with a high-output V8 and a manual transmission in 1971. Arguably the most iconic GTO model ever was the GTO Judge. Pontiac offered the Judge package from 1969 through 1971 and featured performance upgrades as well as special exterior decals and paint options. As far as 1971 goes, the Judge package included the special high-output 455 V8, hood tachometer, and unique exterior decals. The same year also saw the smallest total Judge sales, with only 340 total sold compared to nearly 4,000 sold in the previous year. Of the 340 Judges sold in 1971, only 17 were convertibles, making it an extremely rare GTO. Introduced in 1969, the Ram Air 4 induction system helped increase engine power by quite a lot. The standard 400 cubic inch V8 produced 350 horsepower, but the inclusion of a special Ram Air 4 intake upped that number to 370 horsepower, making the '69 GTO one of the most powerful muscle cars of the year. Despite the big power increase, only a few hundred Ram Air 4 GTOs were sold in 1969, with only 59 being convertibles. Couple that with the lesser-optioned automatic transmission, and only 14 examples were produced of this unique GTO in 1969. The year 1970 is considered the pinnacle of the classic muscle car era. Horsepower numbers were the highest they'd ever been, and every one of the big three made cars with seriously muscular performance. The year 1970 also marks a major one, as the most expensive GTO ever sold. The most valuable Pontiac GTO is a Judge convertible that went for $1.1 million at Mecum auctions. The 1970 GTO, however, isn't a member of the 400 horsepower club, such as the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle, nor does it sport outlandish styling or performance. What makes this GTO rare is its combination of the smaller 400 cubic inch V8 and the Ram Air full intake. Only 37 convertibles were produced with this configuration, and only 13 of those were optioned with an automatic transmission. As far as rarity goes, the 1972 model year takes the prize as the least produced Pontiac GTO Post-Coupe. Only 134 were produced in total that year, making it a rarity with any engine or transmission combination. Pontiac only produced 7 of the 1972 GTO Coupe, with a high-output 455 cubic inch V8 and automatic transmission. Plus, thanks to the federal government's quickly increasing corporate average fuel economy requirements, all American V8s were heavily detuned in order to meet the new standards. This meant the muscle car era was all but finished. Pontiac tried to give the classic GTO body a final swan song with this high-output version of their big block 455, but still could only manage to pull 300 horsepower out of the massive motor, up from 250 from the standard 455, but down from 370 horses in 1970. This next 1972 GTO is even rarer, but for reasons you wouldn't expect. Pontiac offered 2 versions of its 455 cubic inch V8 in 1972, the high-output 300 horsepower version and the standard output 250 horsepower version. It's no surprise that people looking to buy a new GTO opted for the high-output engine, seeing as you get an extra 50 horses straight away. That left only 5 total standard output GTO Post-Coupes sold in 1972 with an automatic transmission. As for standard 455 Post-Coupes with manuals, Pontiac didn't produce a single example for 1972. The year 1969 marked the introduction of the iconic Judge trim and is also known to be the most collectible year regarding GTOs. It was an instant hit, with almost 7,000 GTOs bearing the valuable Judge badge across both coupe and convertible body styles. Coupes vastly outnumber convertibles, however, with 6,715 produced to the convertible's 108. The Ram Air 4 system was also introduced in 1969, taking the normally 350 horsepower 400 cubic inch V8 and upping it to 370 horsepower. Even rarer still are convertible Judges sporting both the new Ram Air 4 and a manual transmission. 1969 saw just 4 produced with this combination, making it the second rarest Pontiac GTO ever produced. The rarest GTO ever made is the 1972 455 CI high-output Post-Coupe MT. While it's no GTO Judge, it still boasts some impressive specs for the 1972 model year. As we've discussed previously, the 455 high-output V8 amps up horsepower numbers from 250 in the standard 455 V8 to 300 horses, thanks to some upgraded components like a revised camshaft and crankshaft. As for the 1972 GTO and all other GTOs, there is none rarer than the Post-Coupe 455 CI high output with a manual transmission. The same year saw small sales for the Post-Coupe and even smaller sales for the HO engine. All of this culminated in only 3 GTOs sold with this configuration, earning its place in automotive history as the rarest GTO of them all and, quite possibly, the rarest Pontiac.